Hey, what's up, guys? You got Crave here, and I know a lot of people are probably done with it, but I just recently finished Mass Effect Andromeda, and there's a very big chance that you know about the game, given the amount of issues that it has, or at least the way it's being talked about in the industry right now. And I just wanted to share my thoughts on what they're kind of obvious. Some of the stuff I'll be saying is a bit obvious given that it's been discussed in many, many different outlets. But I just wanted to share my own personal side to it and what I think of Bioware's Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, first of all, I want to say that I do think that the game is a pretty good game, but it is obvious that it should have been a great game. It's just I guess it's pretty hard to peg it as a really great game when you think about games like Horizon Zero Dawn, especially The Witcher 3, and especially if you played the original trilogy and really like Mass Effect 2 and 3. Now, on the surface, it looks like it's kind of obvious when you play the first few hours even. It looks like it didn't go through a proper quality check. Now, or parts of the quality check failed, but somehow EA Bioware decided to still push out the game on the date that they announced, and it's really just obvious with the amount of animation issues, the bugs. It's really just out there. And like I mentioned in my original or in my early impressions video, I think I mentioned there that Andromeda has this very strong Dragon Age Inquisition feel, and I was hoping that while playing the game, it would be a more contained experience as you go through the galaxy or the Helios cluster, and maybe it would be less and less of that being all over the place. Unfortunately, it maintains that aspect all throughout, and by itself, it's not so bad actually. I know a lot of people enjoyed Dragon Age Inquisition. My wife actually enjoyed that game. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy it as much, so it really took a lot of time before I actually got to finish that game. Now, it's even worse if you come off the original trilogy and you really, really like Mass Effect 2 and 3, because those two games were really, in terms of telling the story or what you have to go through, it's very much a contained experience, and it's very well thought out and very well planned. I mean, yeah, you do sacrifice some elements of freedom just to get to your objective, but in terms of being contained or being directed well in one direction, yeah, you pretty much are thrown into it and you feel the thrill of the story. So it's not it's not really an open world feel. You just are thrown into it and you have to go through Shepard's story. Now, I know people also have gripes about the story, and I think in terms strictly just the story, not how it's delivered, but in terms of the story, I think I'm kind of okay with that in Andromeda, given that it is an introduction into a new trilogy. So I guess the only issue there, if you can call it an issue, is for us to, well, it's really just the waiting time until the second and the third game of the new series comes out. But that's really not the main issue, at least the way I see it with Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, again, I'll go back to it. At the base level of it, it's a quality issue. If you don't care about anything else and you just want to point out something that you see while you're gaming, it's really just a quality issue. And by itself, it's really just terrible. It's just like failures in any product purchase. I mean, when you buy something, you do expect it to work as it should. Now, here we have the phrase, well, as a joke, I see it on forums and everywhere else. It's like Bioware saying, "Thanks for beta testing the game for us early adopters." And I know they patched it recently, and I know they will continue to patch it, but come on, it's not the way it's supposed to be. I bought the game. I know I don't mind because I am a fan of Mass Effect and their work in general, so I suppose the risk was acceptable to me. But I know that there are many gamers out there who might hate pre-orders or week one purchases only to find out that this is what they're getting. And it really just leaves a very bad taste in the mouth. And what does it translate to? It eventually translates into a loss of trust in the developer. Now, what sucks about this, and the really bad part about this, is that Bioware is involved. Now, Bioware is a developer that has really pushed out some really good games. Personally, I do find some of their games just to be okay, but generally, all the stuff they make and all the games they produce are pretty good, and they belong in that category where you can say, "Hey, I remember that game. That was a good one." They're not like other developers where you say, "Okay, what game did they make?" You start asking questions. No, it's pretty much clear that BioWare is very well known for their RPGs. But right now, Mass Effect Andromeda is very important to be done right, right out of the gate, mainly because it is an introduction into a new trilogy. So basically what we have here right now is a problem with BioWare's image, or at least BioWare's image in terms of Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, in terms of when you look at image management, whether it's getting tarnished, or an existing reputation is getting tarnished, or you're slamming the door shut on one that's just being built, when you really think about it, a sullied image is a sullied image. And with Andromeda, you can see that BioWare really wanted to put some effort into the game, but in terms of the showing, it's really just lacking. Now, in spite of the issues that the game has, it appears that Andromeda is selling well, and that's good. As I finish the game, I believe the game is on top of some markets, so that's pretty good. Now, that has negative and positive sides to it. So the negative side is, of course, it promotes this terrible behavior by developers and publishers to just go ahead and, well, push out the game, release it to make some money, even though it has a whole lot of issues. Now, the positive side is that those behind it, the developers and publishers, will still have the funds to make a better sequel. Still, there is a risk to that positive side as well. That risk is mainly due to two recent games that I've played, which is Titanfall 2 and Watch Dogs 2. Now, the first parts of those games, Titanfall and Watch Dogs, they were pretty much lacking in some aspects, or were sort of deceptive in terms of what you would expect from the previews to the actual gameplay. Now, the sequels turned out to be better ones, actually. It's as if they tried to fill the gaps that they had in the first games, but in terms of sales, they did pretty poorly. Now, sure, Titanfall 2 could be due to Battlefield 1's release, or Watch Dogs 2's failure could be due to, I guess, this shift in story theme. Watch Dogs 1 was had a very serious main character, where in Watch Dogs 2, there was a whole lot of quirkiness in that game. But still, it didn't sell very well. Now, while Andromeda does live within the Mass Effect universe, it is a new trilogy, as I mentioned, and therefore introduces risk. If the first impression fails, which is Mass Effect Andromeda, the whole series could fail, or fail to live up to the original trilogy standards. And that's not really a good thing, because when you think about it, it's going to take time. After all, RPGs aren't Call of Duty games where they get pumped out or released on a yearly basis. And, really, games like Andromeda take a whole lot of time to develop. There's so much voice acting to be done, so many decisions to be made. So basically, it's not something that they can easily make up, and it will take time to pump out the second game. If from now until the sequel, all that remains in the gamers' minds are the lackluster efforts of EA BioWare, it might turn off it might turn out the way Titanfall 2 or Watch Dogs 2 did, where people didn't even want to give it a second go. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that Andromeda is a good game, but it's not okay to be just an okay game. Now, sure, there are many considerations and many different kinds of gamers out there with varying personal preferences. For example, I think that The Witcher 3 should be the benchmark for how RPG should be made, effort-wise, but of course, many games will disagree. What I am trying to point out, though, is that the effort that the developers put in, or publishers, along with their publishers, the effort they put in, it will translate into the finished product. Now, that's regardless of whether the developer does everything from the ground up, or whether they outsource some parts of the project to a different team. It doesn't matter. It is the main developer's responsibility, along with the publisher, I guess in this case EA, to make sure that their finished product, is a finished product. And you can build all the hype you want. You can market your product with so much brilliance, but the final product will really just matter. I mean, you can have bugs in games. Of course, nothing is perfect. You can have bugs in games, but it will really show if you knew that there was a problem with your game and you didn't do anything about it prior to it being sold on release day. Now, in the end, gamers shouldn't have to feel that they beta tested a finished product that they already bought. So yeah, I am a bit disappointed with Mass Effect Andromeda. I was hoping for a better game. It's still good, yeah, like I said, but I was expecting more from BioWare, from a developer that made Mass Effect 2 and 3. I was really just looking for more. And Yeah, I hope that BioWare just really patches their game faster, make the fixes necessary so that any late buyers will have a better experience compared to what those of us who bought it on the first week. I really hope that they get a better impression of the game so that we can see a continuation of the story of Mass Effect. And it feels like right now it just ended with Shepard. In terms of what was good about Mass Effect, ended with Shepard. And I really hope that they do a better job so that we can see a better ending for this new series, and that the Ryder sibling story will just continue on. It has to be better. After all, it is Mass Effect. Anyway, this video is pretty much done. Now, before I close it out, for those who are subscribed to my channel, yeah, there are big gaps now. They're increasing in terms of the gaps between uploads, and if you've really been following my channel, I've explained it in previous uploads why this is the case, and I don't see it changing in the foreseeable future. Yeah, I still have time to game. It's just that I don't have a whole lot of time in terms of producing the content, making the videos. I can still play the games World of Warcraft, like this one, Mass Effect, and once in a while I play other games too, or I have new peripherals or stuff that are gaming related. It's just that I don't have the time to do the voiceovers. I don't have the time to write the talking points, the script, or editing the videos. It all takes time, even though they're not really fantastic videos. So yeah, all I'm saying is that consistency is still going to be an issue. And if you're bummed out, I completely understand. I'm the problem. I'm supposed to produce the content. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there again. But yeah, so there you have it. Mass Effect Andromeda, my disappointment and my thoughts on the game. So thanks for checking this out, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Hopefully soon.